Everyone wants to know the connection with Devontae. How was it?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, it's always a work in progress. We're always talking out there, which is a lot of fun. A guy that's a veteran player, has played a lot of football, had a lot of success. So it's fun just trying to communicate as much as I can with him. Obviously, he made some great plays today. But it's fun to work with guys that understand the game and still have a lot left in the tank. So it was good.
Matthew, did you watch film on Devontae before you got here?
I've sat and watched, from the sideline a bunch of times.
Yes.
Played against him a bunch. So I kind of know what he's about. Obviously, have grown, to have even more appreciation just being in the room with him and working with him. So, he's got a great career going and, just happy to be a part of it.
How have you seen his impact with the younger players as well, as far as just making sure they get up to the same speed and you guys can be able to click on one accord?
Yeah, no, he's definitely a veteran guy. He's got a bunch of snaps under his belt. I'm doing everything I can to try to, bring him along in our offense as fast as possible. He understands the game, so that's great, and we just go out there and all work together, try to be as good as we can. It's early, first practice, out on the grass running around, so just trying to get our feet wet and continue to work hard and get better.
You've thrown to a lot of different types of receivers over the last several years. I'm wondering, as you learn a guy, as you learn what his range is, where he likes the ball placed, where you like the ball, do you have anything technically like that you guys do besides talking about it that you kind of is one of your go-tos to sort of test how someone will be?
Yeah, no, I think I was texting with him, late last week a little bit and just saying, hey man, you're a great player because of your skill set, and I'm going to continue to work and watch, and whether that's watching live after I throw and then go back and rewatch and make sure what I was seeing and feeling at that moment was real. And then we just talk about it too, right? After every single set, it feels like we're over there talking about, hey, this is kind of how I'm thinking I'm going to come out of this or feel that, and it's just constant dialogue. And honestly, those are the best relationships I've had with receivers, and the most success that I've had is guys that want to talk to you on how, what they felt, what they were doing, and I can also say, hey, this is what it looked like from my angle, and go from there. But he's definitely he has that feel, he has that understanding, and that's a huge positive.
What's something you learned about him in these settings that you didn't previously know from watching him from afar?
I always had a ton of respect, so it just continues to be the same. I always hated going against him because I knew he was going to put up numbers and play at a high level. But just watching him go about it, and whatever year this is for him to be out there in May working the way he's working, doing what he's doing to try to get caught up on our offense as fast as possible. Just the way he goes about his business is commendable for sure.
Matthew, it looks like NFL players are going to be able to play in the flag football in the 2028 Olympics. What do you think of football being part of it? And I know that might extend, beyond.
You're talking about coaching or what?
Would you be interested? Do you think you'd be interested in playing?
Sure. I nobody's going to want me to, but yeah, sure, it'd be fun. I'll coach.
During your career, you learned how to watch film to prepare for games. When you first got to the league, did you notice a big difference between watching film in college and watching film in the NFL?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's something that I think you got to learn as you go. It's one of those things that I leaned on the veteran guys that I had around me when I was first coming around in the NFL to try and help me through that process. And then I was around smart players as well and just tried to pick their brain. But everybody kind of has to figure out the formula that works for them. And there was some interesting times too. The game's evolved so much. In 17 years, it's. What used to be around on defense is not around anymore, and there's just so much more complexity to it. And then, playing with a guy like Calvin early in my career, I would watch all this tape, and then you go out and play the game, and nobody was running the same coverages because they were just clouding to him the whole game or doubling him or vicing him or whatever it was. So, you got to kind of figure it out as you go. But I was always just trying to be a sponge and just take as much as I possibly could in, about the game of football. And I think later in my career it's helped me out.
Do you lean on coaches at all, or it sounds like you work with players?
Yeah, some coaches. Yeah, obviously, had some, experienced coordinators when I first got into the league. The guys that really helped me out, and then, players as well. Coaches are doing so much to try and prepare for the next game, or scout ahead, do all those kind of things. You got to lean on the guys that are actually playing in those games and how they go about it and how they get ready, and was able to bounce some ideas off of those guys.
Matthew, can you speak to Terrance Ferguson? What are you most
excited about what you've seen from him so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always fun when you get young guys in here, eager to come out here, play football, and prove themselves. Whether it's guys on offense or defense, it's exciting to have young guys around here that in our front office done a hell of a job the last couple of years of finding guys that are ready to go and play. And so just excited for him, for his opportunity. Obviously, was a fan of his during the season last year in college when saw him running around there at Oregon doing some really nice stuff. So excited for him. Again, it's all development at this stage. We're just trying to figure out who we're going to be as a team. Everybody try to figure out how they can get better as a player, and he's no different. But excited to have him.
Couple more. Sean talked earlier in the spring about wanting to find new ways to incorporate Tutu into the offense. Obviously connected up with him on the long one today, but just how do you see his fit into this version of the Rams offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're building that version right now, right? We've run whatever that was, 18, 25, 30 plays, whatever it was today. So we're figuring that out. We're building as we go. Tutu, I got a lot of respect for too. I mean, he's a really smart guy. He's a guy that can play all three spots for us because of his ability to understand where he fits. And I think he continues to get better. I think I've seen him grow as a football player, seen him grow as a human being, all those kind of things as a professional. He's done a hell of a job the last couple of years, and I think when you turn the tape on and watch, that's it shows up. So happy for his success, happy for us to get another chance to work with him for another year, and looking for big things. Obviously, he's got the one thing everybody knows, he can really run, but I think he plays away from his body really well, catching the football, understands where he fits in the run game and the schemes, and obviously Sean and the coaching staff does a really nice job of finding ways to utilize his best traits and best attributes on a down and down out basis.
Kyron is in the process of his first significant contract negotiation as an NFL player. For him to be at OTAs, I guess, does that send a signal to you as the quarterback about just sort of what it means to have him here regardless of any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hesitant to talk about anybody else's business. I just know the kind of player that Kyron is and the kind of human being and the teammate that he is. We all love and respect him, the way he goes about his business, the way he works, the way he plays the game. It jumps off the screen. I know to you guys as well, just the passion that he plays with. So not surprising that he's out here when the football's, put down on the ground, he's playing. But whatever, needs to happen for him and for us as a team, whatever, that's not my business. But love having him as a teammate, love and respect the way he plays and goes about his business.
What strides have you seen from Jordan Whittington from the end of last season to now?
Yeah, I mean, I think he put in a great offseason. I saw him, working with Puka and some of those guys. So he's come back ready to go. He's a physical dude, can run. Great special teams player, guy that can fit in again like Tutu, can kind of play all the spots if you need him to, which is great. The more of those guys that you have on your team, the better. But just, excited to see his growth too. The more opportunities these guys get to play NFL football, the better they're going to be. And he's definitely a guy that, when he gets an opportunity, he really does everything he can to try and take advantage of it. And you got a bunch of guys like that on your team, you feel pretty good about it.
Omar, last one.
Matthew, when you describe the process of kind of getting to know Devontae and getting on the same page, that a great player like he is it like a fun challenge? Is it motivating, inspiring? How would you describe?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely motivating. I want to be great for all the guys in that locker room. But definitely, you get new players in, guys that you got a ton of respect for. Man, I want to make sure that he's getting everything he needs from me. And likewise, I know he probably feels the same way. So, it's always a process getting to figure that kind of stuff out. But, just the few reps we've had out here today and all that, I mean, he's a special player for a reason. He's been a really good player in this league for a long time for a reason. And I'm going to do everything I can to try and help him have great success here. And if we do that, then that's going to be successful for our team. So, I'm doing everything I can to try and make sure that I'm as good as I can be for everybody in that locker room, but he's definitely one of them for sure.
All right. What's up, guys? You guys go ahead.
Coach, what have you seen so far out of Terrance?
Out of who?
Terrance.
Terrance has been good. Really, today was the first day that we could do 11 on 11. These guys got here a couple weeks ago, seen a guy that's been real attentive in meetings, got a really good feel. Really it's routes on air and then what we saw today, which is a limited body of work. But just been really impressed with him and really the rookie class as a whole. Our vets have done a good job welcoming these guys with open arms, but looking forward to seeing him just continue to take it a step at a time. Scooter Huff does a great job with our tight ends, and so far so good.
What have you seen out of Devontae? We know his body of work and what he's been able to do, but just his mind state coming into this new offense, new system, new team.
Yeah, I think the first thing, Nick, I've been really impressed with his willingness to share, his openness and his refreshing humility in terms of being coached, but then being able to offer his insight. It's fun to be able to listen to, he and Matthew have a dialogue of their accumulated experiences and getting on the same page for how they want to be able to do things. But he's been great. He's had, similar to what I was just saying about Terrance, but he's been great in the meetings, incredibly detail-oriented. You can see how smart he is. There's a couple things that are new in terms of the vernacular, but a lot of this stuff is, same as, or maybe just a couple subtle tweaks, but his ability to be able to learn, his ability to be able to listen, and then ultimately lead has been a big factor.
For the younger guys specifically, what do you feel like he can impact them the most in as far as just where they are to get them where you want them to be?
Say that for me.
As far as what Devontae has,
Yep.
his experiences for the younger guys,
Sure.
what specific areas do you feel like he can
I think there's nothing more powerful. Seen is better than said. The way he moves, but then his willingness to share. I think what's cool is these guys, the more comfortable they get, the more comfortable they'll be to be able to ask questions. I think Eric Yarber, Nate, and Rob do such a great job of creating an open dialogue. We want our meetings to be conversational, not just transferring information. But the way that he moves, what's his rhythm and routine, and then his willingness to share based on his experiences and credibility that he's earned over the years.
Sean, a two-part question if you don't mind. Are you able to expand on Puka's excused absence today?
Oh yeah, this was months ago. He's traveling with his family. Pretty cool opportunity. He got to be able to go travel with his mom. He was getting back today. He'll be here. So he's done a great job of communicating a couple months ago.
And then Jay Witt stepping in for at least a share of that workload.
Yeah.
Have you seen a difference in preparedness from him? Obviously coming in as a rookie last year and then second year this year.
It's funny, I was just talking to him out on the field, Jordan. What I think's great is when guys put the work in and they just continue to show, I'm getting better and better and I'm creating value, whether that's on teams or whether that's doing a great job within his role as a receiver, you can see the accumulation of experience has led to a confidence, ability to be able to fill in when needed. Thought he had a really good day today. You can see he's just got a real comfort level in terms of what's being asked, what's the intent of some of these plays, what are the route nuances, and where do I fit within these concepts. And so I've just been really proud of the progress, the maturity. But when you talk to people, even going back to his time at Texas, this is kind of who he's been. He's been all that and more with us, and today was an excellent step in the right direction for him.
Sean, are the Rams still interested in possibly trading for Jalen Ramsey?
Oh yeah, we would never close out those opportunities.
Can you give us an update on what the status is? I mean, there's that June 1st date that's approaching.
You and I both know that's not a real date, though.
Okay.
I mean, so no. Here's what I would say. There's not a whole lot that I have to offer. There's a lot of layers with something of that magnitude when you're talking about the caliber of the player, all right, the compensation that they're looking for in return. What does that look like in terms of how they want to handle what he's actually do? Obviously, we love Jalen. We know Jalen intimately. There would be some things that we would need to be able to do if that was going to be a direction that we went. We certainly haven't closed the door on that, but there hasn't been a whole lot of dialogue as of late, in regards to some of the communication. And so we'll see if that changes, but these things can happen quickly, but it's really kind of same as what it was a couple weeks ago.
Would you expect it to ramp up? I mean, will you push?
I would say this, if there really hasn't been any meaningful, tangible dialogue as of late, but that can always change, pretty quickly, as you know.
If you can't add Jalen for whatever
Yep.
reason, would you want to add the secondary anyway?
No, I feel good about where we're at. Obviously Jalen's a unique deal, but I really like, and I think we all feel this way, in terms of the guys that have played. We've gotten a lot of guys that have played meaningful ball at the corner position, at the safety. We've got some different guys that can flex between safety, dime linebacker, the nickel star spot. And so I think that the way that guys will approach, similar to Jordan's question, Greg, there's a lot of young guys, or maybe even guys that maybe are new to the Rams but have accumulated a bunch of experience that I think are only going to continue to take steps. I think when you really look at it, I thought that Kobe Durant took amazing strides last year. Obviously, Akella Witherspoon played great. I think him being here in the offseason is a big deal. Darius Williams, has been an excellent player for us. I don't think anybody can minimize, that hamstring injury that he had to, work through in the early parts of the year. And then it was great to see Darian Kendrick out here, and Emmanuel Forbes made a play. So, there's a handful of guys. I saw Sean Jolly get in on a pick today. So, do feel really good about the development of that group led by Aubrey Pleasant, Chris Beek, and Mike Harris.
Emmanuel got plopped into that new.
Started right in here at the beginning, Adam.
Got plopped into a new defense.
Yeah.
Year last year. What have you seen from him now that he's had the full winter to learn the system?
I was really impressed with the way that he came in. His willingness to be coached, his openness to maybe some different techniques, and that's really tough to do in the middle of the year, especially given the background with the Washington. And I thought he came in with a great demeanor and disposition. Aubrey always does such a good job of being able to connect with guys. Let me connect with you first, then let me learn how we can continue to communicate, speak the same languages, and then I'll be able to slowly feed you kind of what we're trying to be able to get done in bite-sized increments, and you've just seen the progression. Today was the first step, but you can see even when he's responding to questions, what he's showing in the walkthroughs, even watching him in some full-speed settings today, you see the ability, in some of the individual drills, the movements, the ability to get in and out of breaks and things like that, and then the length and the ball skills to be able to, pick the ball off. Those are big deals. I thought he did some really good stuff against Seattle in Week 18 last year, and so I'm encouraged to really use this as an evaluation. And you guys know we try to get as many meaningful reps in these settings as possible. The closest thing to real football without playing tackle is when we can put the pads on. So there still is an understanding of, we're just trying to set foundations, but I think he's done a really good job with what he can control.
Sean, go ahead, Sarah. When Matthew traded here, he came in as a veteran, knows how to prepare and watch film. But over the course of your career, how have you handled watching film with quarterbacks on your roster and maybe trying to teach them as they make the jump from college to the NFL?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, the first thing is who's the quarterback coach or the coordinator and what's been their rhythm and routine. And Dave Ragone, I've obviously known Dave for a while, but when you talk about a guy that has such a specific sequential process for the weekly rhythm for the quarterbacks while also having the necessary flexibility to say, all right, this is how Matthew's done it. This is how Jimmy's done it. Now I'm really being able to help Stetson continue to develop a rhythm and routine. And I think what he does a great job of is he's able to really, reach that person with the most experience while also accommodating to somebody that's getting familiar with it. But I think it's being able to break it up into segments, similar to how we kind of implement a game plan, and then make sure you don't take anything for granted. I kind of mentioned it earlier, the conversational meetings. You can give all this information and guys kind of nod, but unless you force them to give it back to you, and then they're able to show it in jog through or some of these walkthrough settings, and then in the practice. But I just think Dave does a great job, and really have such trust in him to be able to kind of implement that with those guys.
We know that you guys met with Drew Rosenhaus on Kyron and
Yep.
West Palm. Have conversations progressed past that point, and follow up, what does it mean despite the ongoing conversation that he's out here?
Yeah, I think, first of all, Drew's been outstanding. I think the dialogue has been really healthy. And the one thing about these negotiations is trying to be able to figure out, all right, where is that line that fits kind of what everybody wants to be able to get done. And we all know how much we love Kyron. Drew's got a responsibility. I think his communication's been excellent. And Kyron has been the same stud that we know. Great demeanor, great willingness to come out here to work, to be able to get better. He's been great in terms of our communication. It means a lot, just because you don't minimize. Those things are real, and those are real things that guys have to navigate. You want to make sure that you're asking the right questions, giving them opportunities to be able to give you that feedback. And just keep the communication lines open, and hopefully we'll see where this goes. But I think it's been really healthy and positive progress for sure.
Sean, in the latest Behind the Grind episode, we saw how
The Behind the Grind.
we saw how invested you were in trying to go get Jarquez Hunter.
I pull out pieces of that. You never know who the hell I was talking about right there.
What did you like about him, and what have you seen from him?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, really all 6 of our picks, we had a real appreciation for. I think that's what Les and his group, in collaboration with our coaches, did a great job is, let's have a vision for how these guys fit. Let's play the game in terms of, all right, where do we think the rest of the league sees these guys? Jarquez was a guy, in addition to some other running backs, that we had real appreciation for. There was a vision for how he fit. We got a chance to have a Zoom meeting with him as coaches, just like this demeanor. I think when you look at the production that he had at Auburn, going against the caliber of players that he's going against, he's a guy that can hit home runs, and so there was a lot to like about him. But the other 5 guys, and really a lot of these undrafted free agents, felt the same way.
Sean,
Couple more guys.
Flag football is going to be part of the Olympics, and NFL players,
Yeah.
it looks like they're going to be able to play. What's your view on flag football being part of the Olympics, and will you encourage your players to participate?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think, that is so far away from me in coaching years are dog years. You know that, Gary. So I think if guys, you hear Justin Jefferson come out and talk about, man, that would be really cool. That's awesome. Like, I think you give guys the opportunity to say, all right, well, what's your preference on it? And I think whatever our guys are, there's going to be the availability for maybe one guy on each team to be able to do that. And if that's something that players say they want to be able to do, then I think it's a really cool experience for them to be able to be a part of, while also acknowledging that, man, there's some other guys that have been doing it. I'm not going to pretend to understand the nuances tactically and what that game entails. But I think it's good. I think it's great.
Sean, get back to the communication between Matthew and Devontae. Can you consider Matthew's first season with Cooper, his first season with Puka, kind of historic?
Yeah.
Those natures, the production. What's been the most impressive thing to you in how Matthew kind of onboards quickly with these receivers and gets that chemistry so quickly?
Well, I think you just said it, Omar. It's his ability to communicate. His ability to communicate, to connect, and then he listens to understand. You get around a lot of people and they're just telling you what they want, but he's got this really great way of having real clarity on what he's looking for, but an openness and a humility to be able to listen and work in coordination. And man, that's where you inspire people to want to be able to work alongside you. And he's done that with receivers. He does that with the offensive linemen. It's really whoever, and that's why I think when you're innately thrust into a leadership position, it's why when you talk to his teammates or coaches, everybody loves this guy. I've said it and I've referenced it a couple times. I remember a few years ago, Dan Orlovsky said, he's got this great way to be one of the guys, but you also know he's the man at the same time. And that's a real fine line to be able to balance, but he does that authentically and organically with his personality. But it's just he's got great communication, and he's put in so much work to have, such a, an understanding of what it looks like to do this at a high clip. And, I just see him over there. He's getting ready to turn 50 here pretty soon, too. So, no, I'm just kidding. Didn't see you over there, big guy.
We saw J.J. Redick out there.
Yeah.
What's it been like getting to know him, and what do you like about talking to coaches?
What I like, Greg, is I like the opportunity to be able to have people that are in similar platforms where you're always trying to learn and share. And even though there might be some different things specifically or tactically, there's so much crossover in leadership in the platform that we're blessed to be able to have. I got connected with JJ a little bit before he took the job and had always respected him from afar. But I mean, you talk about a well thought out guy, a great willingness to be able to look inwardly at, all right, where are those areas of improvement, understanding how you bring people together. And so really enjoyed him coming out, and I think the guys did today too. Okay, thanks guys.
How's it going?
What's up? How are you guys?
Good.
Welcome.
Tell us
Appreciate it.
what the experience has been like the last couple of weeks since you've been here.
Yeah, the experience has been great. You land in a spot like this with these people, the teammates, the staff, everybody has just been amazing. So it's been a great experience, and then everyone's poured into me, so it's been an amazing experience.
Is it what you thought it would be, or is it different?
It's better than what I thought. I got a lot of people as soon as I got drafted here said this is a great spot to be, and it's exceeded my expectations. So I think it's pretty hard to do with a high standard that was already set for it.
Who's poured into you the most? Some of the players that have poured into you the most that you've been in?
Yeah, Higgs is someone who jumps right off the bat. I'd say all the tight ends, though, have really leaned in and really helped me out with whether it's the playbook, little subtle things that makes Higgs great, and being a veteran guy like that, knowing and playing a lot of ball, and just being willing to pour into a young guy like me. So I'd say Higgs has been especially big.
Having a conversation.
Obviously, they don't want to put too much on you too early, but can you tell us about one thing that you've really taken it upon yourself to try to master while you're out here, something that maybe starts your onboarding process in the way that keeps you developing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just knowing the offense, getting that under your belt. You know what to do, knowing that they can trust me to be where I need to be, and get familiar with the offense. I think that's what every rookie does, and so just being able to come in and learn the playbook fast, I think that's been something I've been trying to lean into.
What are the conversations been with Coach McVay since you've gotten here and being able to get acclimated to that system and understanding what his expectations are of you as well as your own?
Yeah, no, it's been amazing with Coach McVay. He's really poured into me and leaned into me out there with just a little subtle things I can change and get better at, and just where he has a lot of love for me, and I appreciate that. And so just being able to talk with him and being able to play for someone like him is a dream come true. So, it's been an amazing experience so far.
I know you talked about watching some film of this offense when you were back at Oregon.
Yeah.
But now that you're here and in it, is there anything that's kind of surprised you about learning about the system?
I wouldn't say so. We watched a lot of the Rams offense at Oregon, took took some plays and some ideas from Coach McVay in this offense. So, being able to watch it beforehand and then also get into it, obviously it's very complex. It's a great offense to be in. So I think that's probably about it. But I've seen a little bit of it, and then high expectations, and like I said, it's exceeded that. So it's been amazing.
What would you say the biggest adjustment for you will be during these OTAs?
Yeah, I think just learning the plays fast. You have a quick turnaround from going from college to the whatever special game you played in the combine and then coming out here. So it's just a quick turnaround, learning the offense, and then be able to get comfortable in playing the football that you're used to playing. I think that's the biggest thing.
Some of the similarities between the Rams offense and Oregon's, has that helped you kind of get onboarded and feel comfortable coming in?
Yeah, I think just the way use a lot of motions to get people open, scheme things open, and I think a lot of things are similar with the offensive style with the motioning, but I'll just say kind of the concept. Some of them have a lot of carryover. We did a great job at Oregon of prepping these guys to learn a lot of offenses. I played for a couple OCs, and we had a lot of concepts in there for a college offense, and so being able to carry that over to here has been really big for me.
This offense really manipulates space, but obviously when you're coming from college, everything is space on the field, hash marks, everything's different. The ball is coming out like from a right-handed quarterback now versus a lefty.
Yeah.
How have you caught yourself having to retrain yourself in different ways, understanding within this offense you're going to be tasked with trying to maximize this new space?
Yeah, it's definitely the hashes and the college hashes versus the NFL hashes has been a little bit of a change-up, just knowing your alignment. And honestly, I like it more. You have a little more landmarks that you can use. But I say that's the biggest thing. I caught from a right-handed quarterback most of my life. Dylan's that exception. But I've been able to really get acclimated to it quick.
You went from playing in the Pac-12 last year, the Big Ten, which meant more long trips. You had a really good team. You played in some of the national championship games. Do you think that step up in competition last year helped you transition for the NFL? Yeah,
I think the Pac-12 doesn't get the credit it deserves, honestly. The last year in my Pac-12 career was some of the best football I played, some of the best players. But definitely, like the guys in the Big Ten are probably bigger up front, bigger, stronger guys. And I think that definitely prepares you. The NFL is 10 times that. It's the best of the best, and it's the biggest, strongest, best athletes on the field. So I think it definitely prepares you. But I think the Pac-12, rest in peace. But I think it was a great conference, and honestly, some of the best football, especially that last year. We had a lot of great teams in that conference.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.